Vladimir Putin to be called ruler of Russia under new proposal. A pro-Kremlin party is calling for Vladimir Putin to be referred to as the Russia's ruler rather than a Russia president in order to move away from job description derived from a foreign language. The Nationalist Liberal Democratic Party proposed replacing the term president with pavitel, which means ruler, because the term president has not yet taken root completely in Russia. State-run outlet RIA Novosti reported. The LDPR said that the using of the term president has always been embarrassed us. The party argued in its proposal that the term was first used at the end of 18th century in the U.S. and much later it spread throughout the world. What do you, since this is Newsweek, what's this all about with ruler?
There it is.
How do you feel about this?
All right. I feel about this the way I feel about a lot of the coverage of Putin, which is that, the guy is a thug. The guy is a murderer. He has, Russia is not a real democracy. But at the same time, I feel like there's a kind of unhealthy obsession and a need to make him much bigger than he is in the media and in American politics. And I think that is connected to Trump. I mean, this is a new thing in American politics. I think our greatest adversary is China, and I don't understand why we haven't been trying to make alliances with Russia, which was more democratic before we took this adversarial approach. In an alliance against China, which is actually our greatest adversary, I think Russia's like, yeah, the war in Ukraine is horrible. It's devastating, but at the same time, that doesn't make Russia more than it is, which is essentially a petrostate, and we've screwed over our own working class and Americans and American pocketbooks and their ability to achieve a middle-class life by taking a side too strongly in this conflict. So that's how I see it. This is not praise for Putin. He's a thug and a murderer. The war in Ukraine was absolutely unjustifiable. But at the same time, we have a lot of culpability there. We have not done the most that we could to make sure that things did not end up here. And I think that we've actually screwed ourselves over when it comes to fighting China, which is a much bigger threat.
Mm-hmm. Well, Check. Everything you said, I totally agree with. You hit the nail on the head. I think that the famous quote is, Russia is a gas station masquerading as a country.
Yeah.
And you called it a petrol state. I'll never forget the conversation we had with the great director Oliver Stone here. And I was like, who does Putin want to be? Stalin, Lenin? He goes, no. You got to go further back. And he said he wants to be Peter the Great. And now this just kind of confirms all that, where he wants to be called the ruler. The president is no longer. So in my mind, he's more of an Ivan the Terrible than Peter the Great. But this is, and then the last point is, we need to refocus our agenda away from the Russia nonsense and focus more on China. We talk about that's our biggest adversary, but for 50 years it was Russia, and we've slowly seen China.
Yeah.
Become the number one, potentially number two country in the world right now behind the U.S. I think they're set to take us over GDP-wise by 2030, and that's where our focus needs to shift. So I'm not completely sure why we're so focused on Russia. It's we can't just shake it from our DNA from the last 50 years. I don't know.
Listen, to make it in the Russian politics for as long as this guy's made it, he's not a dummy. He's doing this for a reason. From the outside, you may sit there and say, what a terrible timing to do this, because you're allowing the world to say, look how egotistical you are to be called a ruler. There's a motive behind it. The world's going to find out in about 2 to 4 weeks on the real reason why they want to make this transition. Who knows what the reasoning is? But it doesn't show me that it's progressive. It shows me that it's kind of using this crisis as a way to go backwards to give even more control to him than going in the direction where the people are really in charge of that country. It's just saying, no, you're right. They're not in charge of the country. But look, at the end of the day, the last 2 years, we've definitely not worked on strengthening this relationship at all. So we did not get, closer to our enemy to calm them down. We've actually screwed this thing up, and we're spending too much time high-fiving and, fist-bumping guys from Saudi Arabia. Hey, what's up, dog? Hey, yeah, I know you guys killed that one journalist. All good. Don't worry about it. How you doing? It's a very weird foreign policy approach that we're taking. It's quite embarrassing if you think about it to the world on how they're viewing it.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.